Good morning. My name is Agent Pickle, and I will be your eyes and ears this morning, June 21st, 1989, as we review the case of Texas v. Johnson at the Supreme Court. Gregory Lee Johnson, a member of the Revolutionary Communist Youth Brigade, participated in political demonstrations with 100 other protesting the Reagan administration at the National Republican Convention in Dallas, Texas in 1989. The group targeted several government buildings and convention spaces that were being occupied by the Republican convention. After hours of marching, chanting, protesting with picket signs and demonstrations, a fellow protester handed Johnson a flag. Johnson took the flag to the Dallas City Hall. Johnson took the flag and doused it in kerosene and set it on fire. This violated Texas law protecting desecration of respected objects. He was convicted and sentenced to 1 year in prison and a $2,000 fine. After Johnson was convicted, he sent his case to the Fifth Court of Appeals of Texas. The court did not overturn the ruling, and Johnson's conviction stood. Johnson then sent his case to Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, the highest court in Texas. After hearing the case, the court overturned the ruling under the conditions that Johnson's actions were covered under the First Amendment, and his actions were a form of symbolic speech. The ruling now stood, but Texas required writ of certiorari, and the Supreme Court gave audience to this case. This set the stage for one of the most monumental First Amendment cases in the Supreme Court. This brings an important question to be raised. Is the desecration of the American flag by burning or any other sort of a form of speech protected under the First Amendment? On March 21st, 1989, the Supreme Court began oral arguments on the decision of the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. All agreed that this was no doubt a decision under the First Amendment, but agreed that Johnson's actions were a form of free speech. The Texas Court of Criminal Appeals stated that burning the flag was a form of symbolic speech. The Supreme Court divided over this claim. Also, the Texas law of protecting venerated and respected objects was not only a state law, but a federal law outlined by the U.S. Constitution. The amicus curiae for the respondent, Johnson, was argued by William N. Kunstler, representing the American Civil Liberty Union. The amicus curiae for the petitioner, Texas, was argued by Kathy Alice Drew, representing the Legal Affairs Council and Washington Legal Foundation. The ruling came down to a controversial 5-4 vote in favor of Johnson. The majority opinion was given by Justice Brennan, with him in favor, with Justice Marshall, Blackmun, Scalia, and Kennedy, although Kennedy gave his own concurrence. The dissent came from Chief Justice Rehnquist, Justice White and O'Connor, and a separate dissent by Justice Stevens. The Supreme Court ruled that Johnson had the right to burn the flag and protest an expression of free speech protected under the First Amendment, and that his state's interest in providing breaches of the peace did not support his conviction because Johnson's conduct did not threaten to disturb the peace. It was a battle between protecting the flag as a national symbol and protecting freedom of expression granted by the Bill of Rights. Texas v. Johnson is a landmark case because it constituted that the flag's burning is a form of symbolic speech, and that society's outrage alone is not grounds for suppressing one's free speech. This freedom of speech ultimately protects actions that society may find very offensive. Thank you for getting clean answers to me this morning, and again, I am Agent Pickle. Justice for all, and have a great morning.